Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I've had a lot of comments lately asking me about one of the items that hangs in my shop. And the particular item I'm talking about is that saw that's hanging behind me there. Now, that saw is of a particular design. I'm going to actually take that guy down, turn the camera around here, and I'm going to explain to you guys a little bit about that saw and a little bit about the general woodsman skill of making saws in general. You guys stick around. All right, guys, got my saws down here, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about saw making. And when you get into woodsman's projects and those type of survival skills and stuff, after you've learned to make tripods out in the woods and mallets and toggles and that kind of stuff, the next evolution is making a saw. And typically what you're going to do is you're going to carry the blade with you and then make the rest of the saw from whatever you have in the woods around you. And the saws that they typically make are what's called a bucksaw. Now, a bucksaw is a particular saw that they use to cut firewood, cut larger pieces of wood, and then buck that wood into smaller pieces for your wood stove, your campfire, whatever. And I have a couple different actual buck saws here, and this one in particular was at the farm where I grew up on. And when I was 10, 12 years old, I was made to learn how to use this and cut wood on a sawhorse with this, and or a sawbuck as they called it. And yeah, it's kind of backbreaking work. That's why none of the old timers were overweight, because they worked hard for their stuff. But saws, when they come to a point, there's simple and then there's more complicated versions of that bucksaw that I showed you there. Now, this is a real basic version. This is actually just a little bow saw that I made for cutting little pieces of green wood around my yard and stuff here, because basically all I had to pay for was the blade, and then I could just make the rest of the stuff. And the blades that go in these saws, there's two different kinds of blades. There's a greenwood blade that has what's called rakers, and you can see this kind of little weird shaped tooth right here. That's actually a raker, and what that does is that actually pulls the sawdust out of the cut that you're making, and then these triangle shaped teeth are the ones that actually do the cutting. So this is a greenwood blade, but on larger buck saws, you're typically going to have just the triangle blades, because these are hardwood blades. These are made for cutting harder wood, so of course they have more teeth, so they're going to do more cutting. But as it goes is you would take this blade with you, and one of the ways that they carry these is in those money belts. So you actually carry the blade inside your belt to get out to camp or wherever you're going to be making your base camp or whatever, and then you're going to construct the rest of the saw. Now, this saw right here with the double, it's got the double bands across the top. This is of a particular design that's called a Harleton H Bucksaw, and it comes from Kelly Harleton, and Kelly Harleton is a protege of the late Morris Kohansky, which is he's one of the big names in outdoor survival over the 20th century. And this Harleton H puts tension from two different directions, because you actually twist these paddles to put tension on these bands in opposite directions. So you have tension from two different ways, and then it makes a more solid saw. Now, I have a couple different saws here that I have made over the years, and this Harleton, I wanted a larger saw that mimicked sort of the one I grew up with, so I got a larger blade, and then I put this guy together here with some of the basically the dead hardwood that I had around my place here. And some things with a bucksaw, a lot of them will be square. You'll have a pillar on either side, and then you'll have your band across the top. You have your cross piece, and it's sort of squared up. A lot of the ones that you see on the bushcraft channels are square, but I actually prefer this sort of curve in these saws, and that curve actually helps you grip the saw when you're holding on to it and you're working it. I find that curve to be more, I guess, aesthetic for me to use the saw. It's just more intuitive, because all the old buck saws all had curves. And here is one that I built a while back that has those curves in it. And I'll tell you a little secret here in making these ones with the curves in it. If you take the same piece of wood, you find a piece of wood that's got that curve in it that you like, what you do, you split that piece of wood in half, and you take the one piece and you turn it around. Now you have the actual opposite curve on either side, so your saw is more uniform. And that's actually how I made this one here. And this one I took a little bit more time out here in my workshop and I made it. This one's actually mortised and tenon together, which makes it basically stronger. And then to hold the blades in, this particular one here, I actually used blunted roofing nails that I pushed through to hold the blade. And then all you got to do, flip this over here, is you got to push that pin out, and then the blade will drop out of this. You'll have to take the band off, of course, and then you can replace this. Like if you're going to cut a lot of green wood, you can switch this out with a raker blade of the same, of the same size. But those roofing nails, that idea from that came from the original buck saw that I actually had here, because there are pins, you can see there are pins that are very similar to what that blunted roofing nail is that's holding this original buck saw together. So that is a simple way that you can change the blades. But like this Harleton here, if something bad really did happen and I had to cut wood by hand, this is what I would use to buck those pieces up. I would use my larger, because I've got 1-man and 2-man crosscuts here. I would cut larger logs up, drag them here one way or another, get them up in my sawbuck, and then I would use something like this big guy right here, and I would make that into more manageable pieces. And that is sort of the purpose of that. Where these smaller saws here, like this one, these are more camp related, where you're not going to need a ton of wood, but you're still going to need wood for your campfire, or boiling water, cooking your food, that kind of stuff. And then these ones are, of course, are smaller. But this guy, I got it together. It's mortise and tenon. This guy really doesn't come apart. So I decided I was going to make myself a buck saw that I could take apart, and that's where this guy comes in, the third saw here. And what I did with this one is here, and also this comes in handy if you don't have a lot of woodsman skills. What you do is you take a couple hammer handles, and you got the old hammer handle there, or the hatchet handle, whatever that you can find. That's already got the cut in the bottom of it to put the wedge in when you hang your hatchet head or whatever, and that's already got your existing cut. So then you can slide your saw blade right in that. And then really the only piece that you have to carve is this center piece right here. And then, of course, your windlass up here on the top, where you can twist it and put your tension on. But if I take this windlass, back it off, take the saw blade out, this whole thing will literally fall apart into some pieces, and then I can wrap it up and I can stick it in a pack or whatever and take it with me. And one of the things that I like using when I fold this guy up is you take an old pair of pants that you don't want anymore, you cut the pant leg off of it, and you cut a notch in either side of the pant leg, and you fold the flap over, and you basically sew the bottom of the pant leg shut, and you basically got yourself a little case that you made out of a pant leg out of it. And that's how I can store this guy if I don't want the saw teeth to chew up anything inside of my pack. Now the last thing here is these linch pins. You can use pretty much any pins. You can use a nail. You can use any little piece of metal for a pin to put these buck saws together. But I like these linch pins because all you got to do is you got to fold this piece over and you can pull this pin out. And then you can put the pin back in the blade to store this when you take this down. And I actually like these linch pins. These are a couple of dollars up at the hardware store. They come in different sizes, and all you do is you get yourself a saw blade where the hole is about the same size as that linch pin. And as far as the blades go, you know, the raker blades are actually pretty easy to find. You can find these pretty much any place, any hardware store that sells bow saws for like trimming trees and stuff. And they're pretty reasonable. I mean, I think I paid $5 for this one. I think I bought a couple that were maybe like $8. And then the other ones, the hardwood blades, these are actually made by a company called Bucksaw. And Bucksaw is one of the little folding saw, one of the little hand saw companies. And I ordered these online, and these cost a little bit more. I want to say these are like maybe $8 to $10 now. I think the last ones I bought were around $8, and they come in different sizes. So if you want a small one, you can buy a smaller blade. And if you want a larger one, like the Harleton there, you can get a larger blade. So that's pretty much the skinny on making saws. I like using hardwood just because it's harder and more durable, but it's harder to carve. If I really had to make one in a pinch out in the woods, I would probably select some type of soft wood. But because these guys here are kind of made for my shop and using, if something bad happened, I wanted the hardwood. So I went ahead and made them out of hardwood. Good hard ash. Anyway, this is Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys got a few of those questions answered that I've been having pop up in my comments recently here on sort of some of the saws that I got hanging around in my shop. But anyway, appreciate all you guys out there. You guys have a good one.